us too.
Yeah, I've seen that.
My dad said us this morning because he drives for the bus.
Did you say
And so he's wide awake. So he said that after he got finished driving the bus in the morning. And I thought it was
Try
so
this,
funny.
try this, and you will see.
Did you send the
Oh yeah. Friends love that. What's up?
funniest thing I've heard in a long time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because you reminded me that was happening. 1:30.
Oh.
1:30. Okay.
Yeah, 1:30.
She didn't pick up on it.
1:30.
Target has everything.
That's kind of true. Target's way classier.
That's true.
The turtleneck Jeep jacket.
For a second, I was like, how are we supposed to grab this? So wait,
It does say solvent. So I'm just right now, all I'm asking you to do is try it. I'm not asking you to get the right answer because the next slide's going to teach you how to do it. I'm just asking you to try it. Okay? Because you learned it back in Algebra 1, you reviewed it in geometry, you expanded upon it in Algebra 2, and now we're going to finish it in Algebra 3.
I can't say I know what this is.
It happens.
So I'm just gonna
Just say it.
patiently wait.
You really didn't pay attention last year.
I don't remember. Once he starts doing it, I probably
Or the year before that.
Oh, geometry, I didn't take that.
Or the year before that.
Not really last year.
Well,
Last year is when you hardcore went into it. You got introduced to it in Algebra 1.
Anyone is going to give me this. Even
I know exactly what I'm
from
doing.
Algebra.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what you.
What's the other goalie's name?
Katrina. I said the second one.
When Katrina's starting a game.
Put it in emojis and let's just be.
And
Plug it in for
no. I mean, you'll see why in a minute. Okay. And something happens. Coach yanks her.
Yeah.
Okay. You go in.
Okay.
Right. So you just substituted in. Hey, focus here. Focus here. You just substituted in for Katrina, right?
Sure.
Did I give you any hints?
Well, I don't know what you're putting in for. Like, I don't know what the substitute what.
Exactly.
I know what like substitution means,
Okay.
but I just don't know how to apply that in math. Is that a good way to word it? Wait, did we do this at all last semester? No, we didn't. Not really.
A little bit.
Can I ask for kind of order steps? Do you have to put it in y equals mx plus b form?
Or you could put it in m equals something y plus something form.
Oh dear. You can't do this to me, Linz. Because then I'm gonna get really confused then. Yeah. Well, I use the results. And then I find y. And then I check it.
Why did you face that?
Wait, can you check it to see if this is right?
Yeah.
Why did you face that guy? Sitting on, I ate 2 sleeves of Ritz crackers. She's like, you're false.
Okay, that's what I thought. Then when you
You're telling me you're up the whole time. So it's up to
Is that right?
You put.
So what's it going for?
Alex.
Yeah. When it's y equals 2x plus 4, you put 2x plus 4 in for 5.
Alex, how do you do it?
Oh, got it. But I gotta get into y equals mx plus b first.
Correct.
Okay.
Alright.
Hey, you can't. I just got going.
Well, you should have been done by now.
Can you go back, please?
Sydney, it's 3x plus
Just relax. We'll get back to it. Okay, then, hey, focus.
I'm trying.
Okay, alright. Well, you haven't even written the problem down in 10 minutes. How do you expect me to be able to, how do you expect to be able to solve it if you don't write it down? Okay? Alright, so, what's the first thing in substitution that you have to do? No. Not necessarily. What you got?
myself.
The first thing you have to do is you have to solve for one lone variable. Now, you will have 4 this week. You will have 9 next week to choose from. Okay? You have to pick one of them and solve for it. Having a plan and working your plan is going to make your life easier. So if we go back to this particular slide, which of the 4 variables is going to be easiest to solve for? Yeah. Blue Y. Does everybody see that? Because it's already by itself. It doesn't have a coefficient to go along with it. Any other ones, and I'm going to have fractions. And I know how you already feel about fractions. Okay? So I'm going to solve the blue equation for y. So, first off, I'd add 2x to both sides. Gives me y equals 4 plus 2x. Second step. So we substitute into the second equation to replace that one variable that we just solved for. So, art skills come into play. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put it in there for y. That's going to give me 3x plus 2. Now instead of 2 times y, it's going to be 2 times 4 plus 2x equals 1. Third step. Solve for whichever variable you just got. So we're going to solve the new equation. Fourth step in our strategery.
Plug in the value you found into the original.
No. So where am I going to, where's the easiest spot to put it? I mean, yes, we could go into original equation. Wouldn't it be easier to go into this one that we've already solved for?
Oh, that too.
Right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Two times negative 1. Gives me y equals 2. Just one of them? Both of them. So we're going to plug the solution back into both original equations to check our work to make sure that we are correct. So, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 3 plus 4 is negative 1. Or excuse me, it's positive 1. Checks out in red equation. Negative 2 times negative 1 plus 2 is 2 plus 2, that's 4. 4 is equal to 4. Checks out in blue equation. What form does my answer come in? In the form of a point. Because remember, this is no different than what we were doing last week, Wednesday, when we were graphing 2 lines, and we found that intersection point. Okay? So the answer is going to be in point form. Negative 1, comma 2. Okay? Try it. Which equation, which variable? Right side x. Sid, that's why I said we can't just say we can put it in y equals mx plus b form. Because sometimes you're going to solve for an x. Because it's going to be easier to do that. Times 1 is 4, plus 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. That's negative 2, checks out in the left one. 1 is 1, 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. So that's 1 minus 10. That's negative 9. That checks out in the right one. Leaves me with 1 comma negative 2 as my solution. Yes, ma'am.
Do we need to check?
Yeah. Yep. Questions, comments, concerns? Curses at Lynn's for making us do this. Okay. Go for it. Don't like fractions. What's your options? Okay. And then did what? For what? X or Y? For Y? Okay. Alright. Now, even before we get into that, C fractions. What are your two choices? What? Cry and roll up into a ball, right? Okay. Or both. Okay. What's your two real options? One, you can deal with them. You can suck it up and you can deal with them as is. Right? Or two, you can. No. You can get rid of them, right? Okay? So, get rid of the fractions. If you don't like fractions, get rid of the fractions. Multiply this top equation by. Oops, that's a bad 3. Multiply that whole top equation by 3. If I multiply that whole top equation by 3, I get 2x plus 9y equals negative 102. Right? Multiply the bottom equation by what? By 4. If I multiply the bottom equation by 4, I get 2x minus y equals negative 2. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for multiplying, I cut the 2/3 when I times it by 3/2 for everything. Can you do that or no?
You can, but then you still have a fraction on the y variable. Yep. Okay. Now for substitution, you've got two options. You could solve the orange equation for y, or you could solve either equation for 2x. Right? Because if we can replace for y, we can replace for 2x at the same time. If we get 2x equals something. Okay. To me, doesn't matter. 2x plus 2 equals y. So that be the one that I am then going to take and put in there. So then we get 2x plus 9 times 2x plus 2 equals negative 102. X plus 18x plus 18 equals negative 102. 20x equals negative 120. x equals -6. Take that. Oh, purple. I will go and we'll go there. 2 times -6. Oops. Plus 2 equals y. -12 plus 2, -10 is equal to y. Checkity, check. Back to the originals now. 2/3 times -6 is -4. 3 times -10 is -30. -4 plus -30 is -34. Checks out. 1/2 times -6 is -3. Minus 1/4 times -10. That's going to be plus 5/2. -3 plus 2.5 is -1/2. And that's equal to -1/2. Answer then becomes -6, -10. Yeah? Yes, sir.
Could you plug in the -6 and -10 to simplify?
I would always go back to the original, just in case, because if you made a mistake, like changing it over into the purple, okay, so right off the start, your answer would be okay still in purple, but it wouldn't be back in the original. Yeah, that's why we always go back to the original to check. Yeah. 2 special situations now. Okay. So if you follow along with me on the special situation number 1, we will be looking at the fact that, none of them really are easy, right? So let's take this top one and let's solve it for x. So that's going to be 3x equals 6y plus 14. So x then is going to be 6y plus 14 divided by 3. Is that the special situation number 1? The fact that solving for one of the variables doesn't work out nice and pretty. Is that special situation number 1? No? Good, because it's not. Then I'm going to take that, because sometimes things aren't always nice and neat and pretty and unicorns and rainbows. I'm going to put it in there. What's up? It would be 2y then plus 14 over 3. Or just like that. Yep. Yep. Yeah, you could have broken them up. Yep. -6 and 3 cancel each other out, leaving me with -2. So then that leaves me with -12y minus 28 plus 12y equals -16. Why?
Because -12y plus 12y is 0.
Okay, so you get. Oops, I put negative 20. That should be negative 28. And that's so this is situation. The variables have dropped out. Leaving us with a false statement. So in that particular case, we have that's our no solution case. Okay? So when both variables drop out, and you get a false statement, no solution. Very first thing I would do, as soon as you got to that negative 28 equals negative 16 step, I'd go back all the way from the start, and I'd check all of my work, just to make sure I didn't miss a negative sign, or not forget to distribute something, or something along those lines. Okay? Go back and check your work before you say no solution. Okay? No solution and infinite solutions aren't I don't know how to do this problem, I'm just going to put that down. There's specific areas to put them on. Okay? Or specific cases that those only work on. Situation number 2 then. Let's take the top equation. Once again, let's solve for x. Again, we'll plug it into the other one. Negative 2 cancels out the 2, but it leaves me with a negative 1. Negative 4y minus 13 plus 4y equals negative 13. Again, my variables have dropped out, but this time I have not a solution, I got a true statement, so that means infinite solutions. Last week, Wednesday, I told you that for this whole unit, you would have one of 3 answers. Okay? Well, that still holds. If your variables cancel out and you get a true statement, your answer is infinite solutions. If your variables drop out and a false statement, no solution. If your variables don't cancel at all, so if you still have a variable after you do your substitution, then you end up with a point. Now that point may contain a 0. That's fine. 3x equals 0 just means that x equals 0. Or negative 17y equals 0 just means y equals 0. And then you still go through the steps. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns? None? Okay. Two things. First thing, this homework, due on Wednesday. Second thing, you have a formative tomorrow in the MRC.